welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to explore the power of our subconscious minds.
Oh, us?
Yeah, you guys sent in some fascinating excerpts from Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And today, we'll unpack it, right? We'll try to extract, the key principles. How does this subconscious mind thing actually work, and how can we use it? Use it for everything, right? From healing our bodies to becoming successful, you name it.
I think what's so cool about Murphy's take on this is he doesn't make the subconscious out to be some mystical thing. It's like he presents it as a natural force, a law almost, operating within us.
Right. Yeah, it's like he's giving us the user manual, that we never knew we needed, right? So one of the things that really stuck with me right off the bat was this idea that the subconscious, it doesn't differentiate between beliefs that are true, true in the conventional sense, and those that are not, right?
Yes. And he illustrates this with a pretty dramatic example. The story of a man who is told he's going to die on the next new moon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, by a fortune teller.
Oh, no.
And the crazy thing is, that's exactly what happened.
That's kind of a disturbing thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
That a belief, based on something as, random as a fortune teller's prediction could have such a huge impact.
Right. But I think the takeaway here for our listener is that your subconscious, it doesn't judge the validity of your beliefs. It just acts on them. It's kind of like fertile ground, right? Whatever you plant there, flowers or weeds, it's going to grow.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
So it's not about trying to logic our subconscious mind into believing what's true. It's more about being mindful of what we're actually feeding it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to highlight this, he gives us a contrasting example, right? About a sailor who is totally immune to seasickness because of his strong belief in his immunity.
Right.
Nothing could, sway him.
Wow.
Suggestions from other people just had no effect.
Huh. So if even a false belief can have such a profound impact, just imagine what cultivating positive, empowering beliefs,
Exactly.
could do.
Yeah.
But how do we plant those seeds? How do we do that in the first place?
That's where suggestion comes in.
Okay.
He breaks suggestion down into two types. Auto-suggestion,
Okay.
which is our own internal dialogue, our mental imagery.
Okay.
And then hetero-suggestion, which comes from external sources, like, other people's opinions, ads, all that stuff.
So auto-suggestion, that's like the constant chatter in our own heads.
Right.
Which can, be our best friend or our worst enemy.
Exactly. And if we're not careful, that inner critic, can totally sabotage us without us even realizing it.
Yeah.
He gives the example of a talented singer, this singer who constantly choked during auditions because of her negative self-talk.
Oh, interesting.
So she was basically auto-suggesting herself right out of success.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example of how strong our inner dialogue can be. And heterosuggestion, how do we become more aware of the influences, from the outside world that we're absorbing?
I think that's where critical thinking comes in, right? It's about questioning everything.
Yeah.
Not blindly accepting what everyone is telling us, whether it's the media, society, or even friends and family.
It's like taking ownership of our mental garden, weeding out those harmful suggestions and nurturing the ones that align with our values.
Exactly. And the best part is we're not just, passively receiving these suggestions. We can choose which ones we want to cultivate.
Okay. So this is where Murphy introduces a bunch of techniques, right?
Mm-hmm.
For harnessing the power of this subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Techniques to basically program it, right?
Yeah.
To work with us and not against us.
Yes. And they're all based on the idea of repeatedly impressing our desired beliefs onto the subconscious.
Gotcha.
Kind of like, repeating a math formula until it becomes second nature.
So it's not about just hoping for something.
Yeah.
But actively engaging with our subconscious mind, and directing its power. So what are some of these techniques that people can, start playing around with?
Well, one that he really emphasizes is affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Consciously repeating positive statements that match up with our goals and desires.
So instead of saying, I'm so stressed about this presentation, you might say, I am calm, confident, and well prepared, even if you don't, totally feel that way at the moment.
Yeah. And by affirming those qualities over and over, you're essentially rewriting the script in your subconscious mind.
So we're not trying to fool ourselves into thinking everything's perfect.
Right.
But we're just intentionally shifting our thoughts, our beliefs, in a direction that's more positive.
Exactly. And another really powerful technique he talks about is mental movies.
Okay.
Vividly imagining our desired outcomes
So it's not just visualizing a goal, it's like fully experiencing it
Right.
in our minds, using all our senses to make it as real as possible.
Yes, exactly. And he shares a bunch of really interesting stories to show how effective this can be.
I was really intrigued by the story of the pharmacist who dreamed of owning his own pharmacy, but couldn't afford it. Can you tell us a little about that?
Sure. This guy would spend time every day picturing himself in this dream pharmacy, interacting with customers, seeing like a big bank balance, you know?
Wow.
And amazingly, things started to happen. The circumstances, the resources, everything aligned. And he was able to make his dream a reality.
So by consistently living that reality in his mind, he basically drew it into his physical experience. It's amazing how powerful it is to connect our imagination with our deepest intentions. What other techniques does Murphy talk about in the book?
Well, he dedicates a whole chapter to prayer, which he describes as the soul's sincere desire reaching out to a higher power to be fulfilled.
So it's not about pleading or begging, it's about connecting our conscious desires with the creative power of the subconscious.
Exactly. And he also talks a lot about the importance of sleep, emphasizing that the subconscious is super active when we're resting. It's, solving problems, giving us guidance, recharging us.
This is a good place to pause for now.
Okay.
There's so much to discuss, to unpack when it comes to the power of this subconscious mind. And we'll jump right back into it after a quick break.
It's easy to get kind of lost in the more mystical side of things when we think about the power of the subconscious. But I think what's really interesting is, how can we use this practically? Murphy talks a lot about how we can apply these principles to, like, healing.
Yeah, and he's not saying that the subconscious can magically cure anything, but it definitely plays a big role in our overall well-being. It might be a good time for you, the listener, to think about how your own thoughts and beliefs about your health might be, affecting you physically. Yeah, it's like the mind-body connection. It's not just some abstract concept, but it's something real. It's a force we can work with. And Murphy tells some really amazing stories that really highlight this connection, right? Like this story about the surgeon in India who performed tons of successful surgeries using only mental anesthesia.
Yeah, Dr. James Este. Way back in the 1840s, he would talk to his patients, calm their fears, and tell them they wouldn't feel any pain. And get this, they said they didn't. And they recovered really well, too.
It makes you wonder what's really possible when we tap into the power of belief and suggestion, right? It's not about, denying that pain or illness exist. It's more about understanding that our mental state can really influence our physical experience.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just physical healing, too. Murphy also suggests that we can use these techniques to deal with fear and anxiety.
Oh, this is something that resonates with me for sure. I think we all struggle with fear in different ways. So what kind of strategies does he offer for facing these sometimes really crippling emotions?
Well, one thing he talks about is replacing fearful thoughts with positive affirmations. So instead of thinking, "Oh, I'm terrified of public speaking," you might say, "I am a clear and engaging communicator."
So it's about actively changing that internal dialogue, shifting it from a place of fear to a place of empowerment. And what's interesting here is that it's not about pretending that the fear is not there. It's more about consciously choosing a different way to think, one that supports the outcome we want.
Exactly. And another thing he recommends is mentally rehearsing success. Let's say you have a job interview coming up and it's making you super anxious. You can spend some time every day imagining yourself totally nailing it, answering questions with confidence, connecting with the interviewers.
It's like creating a mental movie of the experience we want to have, training our subconscious to respond in a way that aligns with that vision.
That's a great way to put it. And by going through this positive scenario over and over in your mind, you're basically getting used to it. You're desensitizing yourself to the fear and building up your confidence.
I love that. Using our imagination as a tool for personal growth. It's not about escaping reality. It's about actually shaping our inner world to support the things we want to achieve. It's interesting to think about how we can use these same principles to be successful in different parts of our lives.
Yeah, Murphy really stresses having a clear picture of what you want to achieve and then constantly reminding your subconscious mind of that vision. It's about getting your thoughts, feelings, and actions all lined up with your goals, like becoming the person who's already achieved it.
So it's not just about wishing for it, but but about, having the mindset and behaving like the person we want to become.
That's right. And this is where things like affirmations, mental movies, and even prayer can help. He says it's important to really feel what it would be like to have already achieved your goal. Not just see it in your mind, but feel it.
Like cultivate that sense of knowing, of certainty, that what we want is already on its way.
Exactly. And he has this really cool story about this. There was a guy who really wanted a promotion at work. And he didn't just wish for it. He started acting as if he'd already gotten it.
What do you mean by acting as if? Like, did he go around telling everyone he got the promotion?
No, not like that. But, he started coming to work earlier, dressing a bit more professionally, and taking on more responsibilities. He even cleaned out a drawer in his desk, for the files he'd be handling in his new role.
So he was aligning his actions with what he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
even though it hadn't happened yet. And that's how he ended up getting the promotion.
Exactly. By aligning his actions and mindset with the reality he wanted, he basically attracted the opportunity.
That's such a great illustration of how we can use our subconscious to manifest our goals.
It shows that it's not enough to just think about what we want. We have to take action that's aligned with that vision, Our outer world reflects our inner world.
That makes me think about something else Murphy mentions. The importance of using these principles to build good relationships. After all, our relationships are a reflection of our inner state too, right?
That's a really good point. Murphy really highlights love, forgiveness, and understanding when it comes to creating strong relationships. He emphasizes focusing on the good in others, practicing empathy, and letting go of any resentment or negativity.
So it's not just about, being nice to people, but about genuinely cultivating that sense of love and goodwill towards them, and understanding that it benefits us too in the end.
Exactly. And he gives us some practical tips for building these positive relationships. Like, instead of focusing on someone's flaws, try to focus on their good qualities. Maybe even write them down and think about them often.
It's about making a conscious effort to change our perspective, to see the good in people instead of dwelling on their shortcomings.
Precisely. He also talks about using mental imagery, like picturing the other person as happy, healthy, successful, sending them good vibes,
So we're using those same tools,
Mm-hmm.
affirmations, mental movies, even prayer, to build good relationships, just like we would with anything else. It's really fascinating how it all comes together.
Yeah, it really does. And speaking of things coming together, there's one more area where these principles can be super helpful. Breaking those annoying habits. The ones that can hold us back.
Oh yeah, I think we can all relate to that. We've been talking about repetition, right? How it can help us put good beliefs into our subconscious. But what about those negative patterns we've had for a long time? The ones we want to get rid of? How do we use the subconscious to break free?
Well, Murphy explains that habits, both good and bad, basically get etched into our subconscious mind through repetition. But here's the good news. We can use that same repetition power to, reprogram ourselves, create new, better habits.
So it's about choosing the thoughts and behaviors we want until they become automatic, like our new default setting.
Exactly. He suggests a 3-step plan for getting rid of bad habits. First, we got to become aware of the habit and the thoughts and beliefs behind it.
So we got to bring it out into the open. What's interesting is just becoming aware of a habit can often be enough to start weakening its hold on us.
Right. Awareness is the first step towards change. Then we got to pick a new, positive habit to replace the old one. Let's say you're trying to stop, mindlessly scrolling through social media. Maybe try replacing that with reading a book or going outside whenever you get the urge to grab your phone.
So it's not just about stopping a bad behavior. It's about replacing it with something that's good for us. Like rewiring our brains to create new paths that align with our goals and values.
Exactly. And the last step is to really ingrain this new habit into our subconscious through affirmations, mental imagery, and consistent action. So in the social media example, you might tell yourself, I'm in control of my time and attention. I choose things that nourish my mind and soul. It's like we're making a new mental movie of ourselves doing this good habit, reinforcing it with positive self-talk and actions. It's a really powerful combo. What I'm learning from this is that we're not stuck with our bad habits. We can choose new ones and reprogram our subconscious minds to back us up.
That's a fantastic takeaway. And it gets to the core of Murphy's message. We're not just along for the ride in our lives. We're powerful creators. And the subconscious mind is this force of nature that we can learn to use to create the life we want.
It's like we've got this amazing computer, but no user manual. And Murphy's work is kind of like that manual.
That's such a good analogy. It does take time, practice, and patience to learn how to use this computer effectively. But the rewards are definitely worth it.
Because we're talking about the possibility of transforming our lives from the inside out.
Exactly. It's about becoming conscious creators of our own reality. Now, we've covered a ton of information in this deep dive into the power of the subconscious. I think it's a good time to let everything sink in. We'll be right back to wrap things up and leave you with some food for thought as we've been, going deeper into this idea of the subconscious, like as a force we can actually use. I keep thinking about that thing Murphy said. Life is. Use it. So simple, but it really makes you think.
What I find so interesting about that is that it doesn't tell us how to use life. It's more like he's inviting us to think about what it means to exist and to realize that we have the power to choose.
It's like he's saying, hey, here's this amazing gift. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a wake-up call to take
Yeah.
control of our lives, and understanding the subconscious, working with it, that's a huge part of that.
Because, everything we've talked about today, from healing and overcoming fear to, being successful and having good relationships, it all comes back to realizing how powerful the subconscious is.
Yeah.
And making sure it's aligned with what we want, our desires and intentions.
It's like we've been given the keys to this powerful engine, but we need to figure out how to drive it. And Murphy's work is, in a way, that instruction manual.
And just like learning to drive, it takes practice, right? Patience and being okay with making mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. The more we work with our subconscious minds, the better we get at navigating life, at creating the experiences we truly want.
One thing that's really stood out to me is that a lot of these techniques, affirmations, mental movies, prayer, they all seem to have this common element, repetition.
That's a great point. Repetition is so important because it's how we really get those new patterns into our subconscious mind. It's like carving a groove in a record. The more we repeat a thought, a feeling, or an action, the deeper that groove gets and the easier it is for our subconscious to follow it.
It's like we're training our subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Just like we train a muscle. And
Yeah.
consistency is key, right?
Exactly. It's not about doing these things once or twice and expecting some huge change. It's about making them a regular part of our lives.
And that's when the real magic happens, right? When we're consistent, when our thoughts, feelings, and actions are all aligned with what we want. It creates this momentum that pushes us toward our goals and transforms our lives from within. It's not about pretending everything's perfect or denying challenges. It's about having a mindset of possibility.
Yes. It's about realizing we have more control over our lives than we often think. And the subconscious is a powerful tool in that process. It can work with us or against us. It all depends on how we choose to use it.
This has been such an insightful and inspiring conversation. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what's possible when we tap into this power of the subconscious mind.
It's a lifelong journey of discovery, and there's always more to learn. But the important thing is to start. Take that first step toward understanding and using this incredible power we all have inside us.
And remember, everyone, life is. Use it. What will you create with the power of your subconscious mind? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as fascinating as we did.
Loved this video? Smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And don't forget to order the book, link below.